It's another edition of the Wrap-Up Show with John Schaefer and Jim Russell, presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. And before we get going with today's episode on Nick Castellanos, is he an option for the Padres? Remember to subscribe to our videos. Hit that subscribe button. You see Jim, hit that button down below. Hit the notification bell. Like these videos and follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. I want to tell you about our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz, as well. If you are looking for auto, home, renters, or life insurance here in San Diego, there's only one place to turn, and that's to a San Diegan, Mark Nimitz of Farmers Insurance. He's got a decade of experience helping people like us find the perfect insurance products. And what separates Mark from the competition is his customer service and his communication. You can click the link down below. It's in the description. You'll get to Mark's website. Let him help you and your family with your insurance needs.
If you have any questions for him, you're wondering, well, how can I get a hold of him? Super easy. All his information is right above my head here. His number and his email address, mnimitz@farmersagent.com. That's mnimitz@farmersagent.com.
All right, John Heyman and others reporting that Nick Castellanos is opting out of this 2 years remaining. 2 years, about $32 to $34 million remaining. He's going to opt out. He's likely getting a $100 million plus deal. If you're opting out of 30-something million remaining on your 2-year deal with the Reds, he had a huge offensive season. He's had some big offensive seasons in the big leagues these last couple of years, Jim. So if Castellanos is opting out, would the Padres have interest? There are some holes potentially in their outfield. I think the primary issue initially is payroll. And if you're going to spend like that, you're going to have to shed some payroll. Would it be an upgrade? Obviously. Are they going to have the flexibility, in your opinion, to try to make a run on a guy like Castellanos?
No. It's going to be extremely hard for Preller to pull off something like this. The only way that it could happen is you get rid of Hosmer, get rid of Myers. You probably have to non-tender Adam Frazier. I know you're like, it's not going to happen, but, you know, get some more money off the books. I don't know if you can non-tender like Dinelson Lamet, but just like any possible money you can shed, then he would have to do that to even make a run at Nick Castellanos. I think he is like the perfect fit and exactly what this team needs. Power, outfield bat. But it's going to be extremely hard to get him. And that's a problem. Not saying it's a problem that they can't get him. It's a problem that they have no flexibility. You know, like this question, it should be a good question. And we're talking about it, but the likelihood of it happening, I just think it's very slim.
I agree with you. And by the way, you look at his 2021, 3.3 WAR, very good year for an outfielder. On base percentage is good, 362. Slugging is huge, 576. OPS, 939. OPS plus 136. I mean, it's exactly what the Padres need, like you said. I mean, they really did lack power. When you look back in the season, I mean, they had good power threats in Machado and Tatis. I mean, a great one, obviously, in Tatis. A little bit from Cronenworth, and then that was it. I mean, Profar underexceeded. Obviously, Hosmer's Hosmer these last handful of years. Myers is Myers. Grisham underperformed. I mean, they need a power bat. The problem is they gave the $144 million deal out. Derek Hosmer. That should have been your $14 million deal. That's your 2-year, $14 million deal. They gave it out in the 8-year variety at $144. Now, the Reds aren't necessarily the team you think about, Jim, to spend $100 million plus on a player. The problem is there's other teams that would. New York Mets come to mind initially. Padres, again, historically have spent some money here, but you made the best point. There's no flexibility. Now, they want flexibility. A.J. Preller wants it. We've heard it from a zillion sources. They want to get rid of a Hosmer or a Myers. It's one thing to want it. It's another thing to do it. Maybe they benefit from a new CBA with some type of floor in terms of salaries for 2022, but we're not going to know about that for months and months and months. So if they're going to be a serious player here in free agency, I think they need to be smart, by the way, Jim. If they're spending $100 million bucks, honestly, do you want them spending it on pitching or do you want them spending it on power bats? Now, they need the power bat, but I think they probably should invest it in pitching and starting pitching before they go to the outfield, right?
Yeah, pitching has to be the number one priority. The last 2 years, it has just fallen apart at the absolute worst time for this team. This team needs to spend all their resources on pitching. Like we talked about Mackenzie Gore the other day, and how big of a boost it would be to that team if they can get from within, because they don't have a lot of money to spend. But if they can't do it from within, the pitching is what I'm saying, then they're going to have to figure out ways to bring in pitching from the outside here without a lot of resources to do it. And like, do I want them to go out and spend big money on pitching? Not particularly. I don't see any pitchers out there that would be worth that type of money or long-term commitment. Nick Castellanos, a dark horse team, I feel like, would be a problem. That if they went, they have a lot of money to spend, and oh, by the way, they won 107 games this year. Like the Giants, I feel like for Nick Castellanos is a great fit as well, and that's a problem for the Padres because you're bringing him into your division, and this guy is, one of the top 15 outfielders in baseball, maybe top 10. I mean, he's good. He is that good. So it's just they don't have any flexibility. But if you're going to have to choose, all right, pitching or offense, I choose pitching. I think that, you can survive and you can have a couple guys have resurgent years with your offense, and you don't have to really rely on Eric Hosmer a ton. You're just going to have to make sure that Machado and Tatis have great years. I think Grisham and Cronenworth having good years as well. If you can get 15 to 20 homers from Myers, you got to upgrade at the catching position, at least offensively. That's a problem
for the 20th consecutive year.
It's just forever. This team can't get a catcher that can hit. It's ridiculous.
The problem with investing in either, let's start with pitching, which is where they need to invest. The problem is you'd actually rather just have the internal options work, because but they don't work. I mean, Mackenzie Gore, we jinxed him yesterday and 100%. Saying, hey, maybe he turned the corner, and he has a horrific outing in the Arizona Fall League to the point, though, where you're like, should they even pitch him in the Arizona Fall League?
No.
Or do you shut him down until 2022? So you have Gore, obviously controllable, and hopefully a guy that helps you in the future, although it's very questionable at this point. You have Dinelson Lamet, but like you were saying earlier, I mean, what is his real value coming off this injury? You have Adrian Morejon. We have no idea. When are we going to see him? You have Mike Clevenger. We have no idea. But you got these 4 or 5 real pieces that theoretically aren't costing you a lot. For you to go back out and spend the money that it might take to really upgrade this rotation, it's like they better work out. And the problem is the track record of AJ Preller here is these pieces aren't working. They're really not. And to go throw another $50 million here and $50 million there, it has to work. And we've said that so many times, and it's hard to trust that any of these moves are going to work. You look at this rotation. I'm trying to think right now. 2022, what do you got? You got Snell, you got Darvish, you got Musgrove heading into the year.
And then after that, you have question marks with Clevenger. You have a question mark with Paddock. You have a question mark with Lamet. You have a question mark with Morejon. It's just a bunch of question marks. Like even Snell, for how great he pitched his last 7 starts, is a question mark for me because of how bad he pitched the first 3.5, 4 months of the season. Darvish, he's a question mark for me. He didn't finish the year healthy. He's a year older. You don't know how much the crackdown on foreign substance played a role into his bad last second half of the season. So the only guy that really, to me, is a staple of that rotation is Joe Musgrove. And I would love, and I don't know if he's even capable of it, but I think this is the route they need to go, is like, instead of going out and getting big time free agents like a Nick Castellanos, which I would love, but you can't do it because you spent all your money on Eric Hosmer. That deal is just putting the handcuffs on Preller to do really anything now in free agency for the next couple of years, I feel like, until they get rid of him.
Yeah,
you gotta go.
You're right.
You gotta go out and get like the 1-year deal type of guys. Like the Giants did this year with Alex Wood, Kevin Gausman, other places too. The 1 year, like Charlie Morton, the guys that aren't going to cost you over $100 million. The guys that are going to be like a 2-year, $25 million deal, or a 1 year, $12 million deal.
You're right, but I even wonder if they have that, Jim. I mean, they're going to go over the luxury tax threshold if they don't. If they eliminate nothing, remember, you got arbitration eligible guys up and down. So you're adding automatically. Obviously, you'll have some replacement as well. You're right. The 1-year guys, I like that idea, but you actually, yes, you're not giving them the controllable. You're not giving up 5 years, right? But sometimes you're overpaying in the 1 year. I mean, yeah, 1 year 12, maybe it's going to work out. Some of these guys, though, it's going to be like 1 year 15, 1 year 20. I'm telling you, they don't have it. If they're already pushing the luxury tax ceiling, they're going to go sign 2 1-year guys to be in the rotation for a combined $30 million in salary next year, and they're going to push $200 million in payroll. Like, it's not going to add up. You still need to shed to do something like that. And I don't know where they're shedding. Like, who else other than Myers and Hosmer, who may or may not be realistic? What else is just coming off the books that is sizable? Not Profar. I mean, not who? Not these catchers who are control. I mean, that's not a big amount of money. But, like, who else is coming off the books? Not Pomerantz.
Who says that Peter Seidler won't spend $200 million?
No one. You're right. I mean, it's possible. You're right. Is it possible? But is it smart? Like, when you're trying to make up 30 games in the division and you're the team going over the luxury tax threshold and the Giants aren't, and the Giants finished 28 games better than you? Is that a good investment? I don't know.
Maybe it's not a good investment, but they finished 3rd in attendance this year. They're selling Tatis and Machado jerseys like crazy. They're selling swag chains still like crazy. Jerseys are, flying off the shelves. Every single Padre, I see so much brown Padres gear around town. Who says that Seidler doesn't say just F it and I'm going to spend $200 million to get this team where it needs to be? Like there is no cap here. There is no, we all are thinking and talking about, well, they don't really have any money to spend. And that could be true. But also, who says that Seidler's not going to just say F it and spend more money? He could.
He could. I mean, and it would be doubling down on your general manager. It feels to me like Seidler's given Preller a lot of leash to invest, not just in trades, but in salary. Like, when you give
all the faith in the world.
Tatis, 340, 300 to Machado, 144 to Hosmer, Pomerantz deal, Profar deal. I mean, these are significant. I mean, even Ha-Seong Kim going out and giving him 4 years, right? What was that total? I mean, it was a decent
27,
total.
28.
I mean, there have been some real investments. It's
not a good deal, by the way.
You said you're 100% behind your general manager. I mean, are you going to go back into your pocketbook and prove that once again this offseason? Or are you going to be somewhat tempered in the decisions that you make? Are you going to say no to Nick Castellanos? Are you going to say no to that big ticket item when it comes to pitching this offseason? I don't know the answer. I think it actually starts with creativity, to our collective points. Finding ways to shed payroll that help your team win in 2022 is the key. We have to trust AJ Preller to do that. He's the man in charge. It's not going to be Peter Seidler's job to get creative. It's AJ Preller's job to get creative. Can he do it or not is the question.
And if AJ Preller goes to Peter Seidler and Peter Seidler says, look, let's spend more money, then I think that behooves AJ Preller to go out there and spend smart money this time, and not to give guys massive contracts and to give guys, the 7 years, $144 million. Yep. Like, would I invest 7 years, $144 million in Nick Castellanos? I think so. Like, how old is Nick? He's got to be under 30, right?
That's a big deal, but he might get it. He's 29. He'll be 30 next season. I mean, that's probably too long of a deal.
Okay, yeah, maybe like a 5-year deal.
He's going to get the 5-year. He's going to get the 5-year.
Who would you rather have? Because they're both about the same age. I think this guy's 30 or 31. Would you rather have Nick Castellanos for the next 5 years or Chris Bryant for the next 5 years?
That's for another episode. So the question today, reply down below. How did the Padres get Nick Castellanos done? You have a creative way to do it? How do you get Nick Castellanos done? Reply down below.
There's a deep drive to left.
Exactly. Remember to subscribe to our videos, exclusive year-round Padres content. The only way to get it is by subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Like these videos as well. Follow us on Twitter @JohnSchaefer, @JimRussellSD. This has been the Wrap-Up Show, presented by Mark Nimitz and Farmers Insurance.